back to Power BI Advanced Full Course. We have already deeply looked into the Power Query in our previous videos. If you have not seen yet, please visit them by clicking in the I button on the top right corner of the video. Now we will be moving into the data modeling. In the subsequent videos, we will be seeing about the normal pivot table followed by powerPivot, and we will also see how we can generate new data, and those newly generated data we can use in our data modeling. We will be also exploring about their connections or various relationships, joins, and their usage. So let me begin. In normal pivot table, what we have seen that we can create plenty of calculation we can do, or we can create some summarization like aggregative function, count, sum, average. This kind of things we can get using our normal pivot table. Power Query loves the table, and it is being used to calculate anything automatically. Let me give you an example. So let me go back to our previous tab, that is day versus delay date. Let me copy some of the data points from here and we'll update, like we'll copy this and paste it over here. I'll do a value paste so that it will remain only the values, not any table format. And that is the key difference. I'm going to explain what is the difference between normal data and a data present inside the table. If I am trying to do a sum of all these not delayed values, if I close this, it will give the sum of this total. Let me create a total for this one as well. So this is the total and it is exactly matching both. What if I take another two more data points, or let me take another one data points, and if I do just a normal value paste, this total sum is getting updated, but this is not getting updated. Let me give a name over here so that it will be much more meaningful. Total delay. Okay, if I go inside this cell, it is showing as C3 to C7, that is from here till here, and it is not dynamic. If I put this value or this entire table inside a table, so that this calculation, this sum calculation automatically will be taken place. So for that, to put these data sets into a table format, we can place our selection any area of this covered area. So once I put this cursor on the active cell, I have to press Ctrl T from the keyboard. Once I do that, a dancing borderline will be over here. So that is the indication this is the area it has been covered, and it has header. My table has header, so I'll click on OK. It will turn from normal data into a table format. So once I click on it, it will turn into a table. Let's say I have omitted our last value and it is still 1154, and this is also 1154. And let me see, it is from C3 to C7, that is C3 to C7 until this. If I take the previous value and do a value paste over here, you can see it has been updated. So this is C3 to C7. It has not taken, I don't know why it has not taken. Let me put a sum value over here and give this value. It is 14, 24. So now let me repeat this. Let me take another time, and what I'll do a value paste over here. Now see, it has been updated from this table. This is 1688 and this is also 1688. If I take another value, let's say for Saturday, if I take and if I do a value paste over here, then both it is getting updated. So that is the key difference, and it is automatically or dynamically it gets calculated if it is inside the table. That's the reason it is always recommended, if you are taking any data inside the Excel or if you are trying to make a queries or connection, it is always recommended to use the table. And in the subsequent videos or subsequent process, I will be bringing or importing whatever data, and that data should be into a table format. So now I'll be slowly moving into the pivot table, that is normal pivot table. Then we'll be using the power pivot. So let me open a new workbook, and there I'll start from the beginning how we can use the normal pivot table. So I'll save this and close this, and I'll open a new workbook. For opening a new workbook, I'll use shortcut key Control N from the keyboard, and I'll be importing 2-3 data sets for our calculation purpose in order to see how we can use normal pivot table. I'll save this first workbook. Alright, so I'll import 3 data sets. So first let me go back to data. From get data, from file, I'll use Excel workbook. I'll be importing first employee data. Both are same. This table 1 and employee, both the table or both the data set or page, it contains the same information. So always it is recommended to use table format if it is in table. So I'll choose this table because it is already in table format. We can choose this one as well. Either one is fine, but I always recommend you to use the table format. So I'll choose this and click load. So straight away it will load into our dataset. I'll close this query connection. I'll resize these headers so that it will come to our visible area. This is fine. I'll import couple of more data, but I want to make sure one thing, and I want to tell something important, that is, whenever you are importing any data, it is always recommended to give your table name there itself, because once you rename, like once you bring that into your Excel, it is quite hard to rename the table. So once you do, if you do not give the relevant table name, it is little bit difficult when you will be using multiple tables. You cannot remember which table is what. So that's the reason it is recommended, whenever you are importing the dataset into Power Query or in Excel, you give the relevant name during that time itself. So this is a table name, and let's say this is the table of employee. So I'll go over here, queries and connection. I'll change over here, and this is for employee table. Close and load. This is fine. Now let me open another data set, that is probably sales data set. Will take sales table. I'll take this table, table 1, and I'll click on transform because I want to rename the table name. I'll give the table name as sales. Here it has also changed. So I'll click on close and load. and automatically it has been updated over here. And I'll be bringing another data set, that is, let's say, store. So I'll go over here from dataset. I'll bring the store information, that is store table. I'll choose the table format and click on transform. And let's say this table 1, I want to change it to store, and click on, like, let me hit enter, and it has been changed to store. I'll go in home, click on close and load. It will automatically update over here. Let me close this pane, this queries and connection I don't need as of now. And what is normal pivot table? We already have seen in our like most of you people, you might know what is pivot table. Let me give a brief glimpse about how it works and what it is. So suppose this is a store, and in this store table it has store ID, store name, the area of square feet, address, city, state, zip. These are the information as is there. And in sales information it has like all the sales information along with the transaction type, store ID, order ID. This and all information is there. And in table 1 it is actually a employee table. So let me rename this as employee. And here is like employee IDs are there, store ID is also there, and their address, employee email, this and all information is there. So let me create a connection, or let me create a pivot table, normal pivot table, and we'll be seeing few operation. For that, let me go over here in sales, and what I'll do, I'll create a pivot table. For that, I'll go insert, click on pivot table. So automatically a dancing border will appear over here throughout the entire data wherever it is present. And see, you can see that table name, it has sales, and I want, choose where you want the pivot table to be placed, and I want this in new worksheet. So I'll click on this. Here is automatically check that add this data into the data model. So I'll come this part later. For time being, I am not using this for our data model. So I'll click on OK, and it will place into a new sheet where our pivot table will be appearing. So I'll be calculating, let's say, the store ID. Let's say the store ID is where it is, the store ID. I'll bring it to the row, and I want to get all the total sales amount that is to be placed in value. It will give all the store ID, respective store ID, and their respective sales amount. Now, what if I want the only I want, instead of store ID, I want the store name over here. We can do in couple of ways, but let me show a glimpse of it, how the powerPivot works. If I click on this more tables, do you want to create a new pivot table? Do you use multiple tables in your analysis? A new pivot table needs to be created using the data model. If I click on yes, you can see a new pop-up has come, and here all the 3 employees have come. This is this is nothing but the power pivot, where it, like power pivot table, where we can get all our existing this employee sales and store IDs, store information. This data has come over here, and you can see this under all table. If I click on active one, you can see the only sales based upon which this pivot table it has come. If I collapse this, you can find only one single table. But if I click on all, you can see all the 3 cells, like 3 tables, it is appearing over here. Now Let me remove these unnecessary sheets which we don't need. Sheet 3 and this is a sheet 2. This is the normal pivot table and this is the power pivot. So normal pivot table we have seen what is this, and in this case we cannot bring straight away the store name. Let's say we can do in couple of ways the store ID along with the store name. So first method is let me use the one of the formula from Excel, that is VLOOKUP. So for VLOOKUP I'll put equals sign and VLOOKUP function from the Excel and hit the tab key to pick this formula. If you don't know about VLOOKUP, please go back to my previous videos where I have already explained the advanced VLOOKUP as well as the normal VLOOKUP. And also you can use the repetitive values and you can combine that one with VLOOKUP to get all the repetitive values. You can watch out them. So for VLOOKUP, to get the store name for the respective IDs, I'll choose the lookup value. In this case our lookup value is 10. I'll put comma and it is present in our store table. So I'll click on store table, and in this case I don't need all the columns. My store ID is in first column and store name is in third column, that is in C column. So I'll choose only these 3 columns and I'll put comma, and our column index number is present in column number C, and I have to give the number, the position of C, that is 1, 2, 3. So it is in 3, I'll put 3 and I'll put comma. It's asking for exact match or approximate match. For most of the VLOOKUPs we use approximate match. We can either use false or we can put 0. So I'm putting 0 and closing the bracket, hit enter key. And if I drag this, it will be taking all the respective store name from this store table. And you can see for 10 it is this is the name, for 12 it is this is the name, and 11 it is this is the name, and that you can find easily over here. This is the one way for where you can use only a normal pivot table and you can give the name of this store, that is store name. There is another way that we can use. We can bring the store name directly in our sales table from the store table. For that, let me go back to our sales table, and here we'll be adding another new column over here. So let me create another new column, that is store name, and hit enter. Automatically this table will be expanded and you can see that we can apply that same function VLOOKUP over here, that is our store ID. I'll put comma and store name. I'll come over here, I'll put comma 3 comma 0, hit enter, and it has been updated. Now if I go back to our sheet 2, let me give this name as normal pivot table, and let me drop this. I don't need this at this moment. So if I click on this and way down if I come, the last column is expenses. If I go over here, you can verify it, expenses last column, and this is the newly created column. If I come over here in pivot table and if I right click and refresh it, here that newly created column, that is store name, it will be appearing. Right now it is not present, so let me do a refresh. Once I do that, the store name, it has come. Now we can, instead of store ID, we can bring the store name, and that's how instead of store ID we can get the store name. This is the another way. But if I go into this sheet, this is fine because it is just about around 4,000 records, and this is for time being it is fine. But what if we have millions of rows? During that time it is very much tedious, and it will be taking much more computational power and time, because this store name is repeating along with the store ID, which is nothing but it is representing the same, and that is not the best way to recommend it. And best way is, and recommended way is not to use the redundant data. So that's what I'm going to explain in our in few moments, and that's where the power pivot table comes into the picture. So for time being I don't need this, so I'm deleting this one, and I'll go back to this sheet 3 where we have brought all our three data sets, and all the three data sets it has come because of our pivot table, like not the normal pivot table, it is power pivot. So I'll write this as power pivot. Okay, now if I come to this active one, you can see that store ID is present and total sales amount is there, sum of total sales. Now let me choose from the from all data sets. Now if I expand this in sales, the store name is not present over here. But if I click on all, if I click on store, and if I bring the store name over here, it is asking a automatic relationship, the intelligence power of the Excel or Power Query. It got some sense that it's trying to create a relationship between tables that may be needed. So it's understand that you are trying to create some relation between store name and the total sales, and it automatically detects based upon the store ID that is present common between cell and like sales and store, where it has found that sales and store, there is a connection of store ID. So based upon that it is detecting. So you can use this auto detect, or you can choose create. So auto detection is not recommended, I don't want you to use that one. So for time being I'm clicking on cross, and if I remove the store ID from here, it can still giving the store name along with the total sales. And in the subsequent videos, and in few moments I'll be explaining more about these relationships, and we'll be seeing the data modeling um, shortly. Thank you. So that's all for now. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Till then, take care, bye bye, and I'll see you with another new exciting video. Thank you, bye bye.